Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the official Trade Talk channel where I show you how I analyze price for the most consistent and higher probable entries so that way you guys can become better traders. So we're going to talk about, we'll discuss the Fed a little bit this morning, what he said. Basically, they're hawkish, which we knew they were going to be. I guess some people were expecting a 75 point hike, but nobody that I listen to or follow or read was expecting anything more than 50. A 50 basis point hike is a big hike. It's the biggest hike that we've had since 2000, so it's a 22-year high as far as interest rate hikes goes. They're going to he's going to do whatever he needs to do in order to curb inflation. So if I come over here and pull this little article up right here, Powell vows to curb inflation with hikes that risk economic pain. And he even said that in the meeting, that they will do whatever they have to do. It's a very extremely hawkish stance that he is taking. They do not want to disturb growth inside of, the economy, but they need to get in control of inflation. It is the most dangerous thing that can happen to a currency. So yeah, they definitely want to get on top of that. If you go back and listen to everything he says, it's a very aggressive path. Okay, it's not dovish. Dovish is when they're buying stuff and propping the market. Dovish is what they were before October 2021. All right, they were all dovish. They were just starting to talk about becoming hawkish. Now they are extremely hawkish. It's a very aggressive path. Basically, he understands that the market may not like the aggression, but he is willing to break a few eggs to make an omelet. So that's what you need to understand. Now, as far as why has Bitcoin bounced and the other risk markets, why is such a massive pop? It is the biggest gain that we have had during a Fed meeting in like over a decade, I think, if I can remember correctly. It was a big move. Had a big drop on the dollar. Basically, let's go to Bitcoin because Bitcoin doesn't control the broader economy. The broader economy controls Bitcoin. So if I come over here and look at the DXY, you will see that this thing was a massively bullish last week, just getting that bullish momentum. If you remember when we had the breakout, when we were trading down in here, I basically was telling you guys that I am expecting the dollar to go higher. I'm expecting it to break out to price in the rate hikes that are coming. They are expecting 6 more this year. That's what I said. Well, we're looking at 5 more this year now that we got, one yesterday. And they could all be 50 point basis hikes or 50 basis point hikes, all of them. So we're going to see what happens going on into the year. They are data driven. That doesn't mean they're dovish. That means they are looking at specific data points and they want to start to see those data points change their trend. Right now, the trend is going up. The trend is moving higher. Inflation is trending month over month. They need to get that to stop. And the data points that they're watching, once that happens, then they might back off of the hawkish nature. But for now, it's going to continue. The reason you're seeing the pullback is simple. If you look at this consolidation region right here, once you got the breakout, the first week of the breakout, if you remember, I was like, this doesn't look like a legit breakout to me because the candle's size or the range of the daily ranges are small. And typically when you break out of a region like this, you want to see that get momentum, move further and faster. And it didn't start to do that until we had this pullback. We pulled back into daily support right here, as well as the 21 exponential moving average, and then that aggression started to peak, and then we got this massive bullish candle. So if you go out here to the weekly time frame, let's kill the moving averages because they're annoying me. You'll see that we are trading at the same regions we hit during the pandemic, when we had a massive had a massive move up in price. Then the dollar dropped because of all the printing, all the QE that was going on. That wasn't very bullish for the dollar. So we had this initial shock, stop run on both sides of the market, if you will. Yeah, well, now we're trading above that. We are above that. Here is your weekly resistance down here. So on a technical basis, this thing needed to cool down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row, 4 weeks in a row of straight bullishness. And last week being essentially the move that put it above a lot of swing highs. You even took out this swing high over here. So, I mean, we are at highs that we haven't seen since 2003. All right, so we're at like 19-year highs on the dollar. That's a big, big move to the upside. And it has been a one-sided move since the down there, right? Since the middle of last year and since the beginning of this year, you've been pretty much one direction, and that is straight up with just 3 weeks of pullback in the entirety of 2022. So they're using the Fed hawkish stance to basically sell into the market. So it's like a buy the rumor, sell the news type of event. The market was pricing in the interest rate hikes, so the pullback that you're seeing on the announcement day is, it's normal, right? So they're going to pull back the dollar a little bit. It needs to get back to levels that, are supportive of more bullish price action. So that's why you've seen a massive rip and a massive rally in some of the equities and Bitcoin as well. Just look at the size of that weekly candle there. If we go over here to the S&P 500, you can see that you got a weekly close below weekly support last week. You do almost have a bullish engulfing weekly candle on your hands, and that's okay. It's not necessarily a bullish signal. Look at the size of this bullish candle that we had, and then look what happened to it just a few weeks later. So just because we're seeing a bullish rip yesterday, it will more than likely be sold into once it finds a level where the sellers will join right back in. We don't short the bottoms, right? We do not short the lows. Professional traders, professional investors, they are not taking short entries at the lows, all right? They're waiting. They are waiting to load the boat. Bitcoin was at a massive level of support. It has been here for 2 weeks, all right? Here is your support region. You've got monthly support here, daily support, 3-day support, weekly support. Every single time frame inside of monthly and under, you are at support, all right? Then you take into account the fact that you have ascending trend line support as well. Let's go back over here to the daily. You were trading there. That's not right. Bear with me. There we go. So trading right down into this. This is the last trend line support of this overall consolidation. Was really wanting to see it break down and then maybe get that bullish pop. But if it wants to pop here, that is fine. You did close under the 21 exponential moving average, but with what we're seeing currently, it would, like in normal circumstances, I would be looking for intraday support to get long, looking for a test of new resistance. You closed below daily resistance yesterday. Basically, this is just sellers exhausted. You had divergence on the daily. There's so many signals as to not get short yet. All right. So that's why you're seeing the pop. It's it. They use the news to basically get that bullish transaction, and people are getting stopped out left and right. I pulled up Glassnode's data to see any short liquidations, but unfortunately I do not have the data yet. So tomorrow maybe I will have it. I don't know what's going on, but the short side liquidations should be much, much bigger than they are. But I am expecting this to get sold into. Now, is it going to get sold into tomorrow? Well, it's absolutely possible. We have NFP tomorrow. And depending on how much liquidity this generated when it shot to the upside will depend on when it starts to roll back over again, or even if it does, right? I'm just basically giving you my opinion here, but I do think it will be sold into, and they could use tomorrow to do it, because nobody is more bullish than they are right now. All right, that's a big candle, and you got a lot of FOMO trading happening. Even though we were ahead of this move, I posted a tweet days ago before the pop happened that we were looking for it. It was right here, May the 3rd. Today's the 5th, so 2 days ago. Look at this right here. This is the tweet. We were looking for this pop, and we finally got it yesterday during the news, which That's probably when you're going to see big moves, is during FOMC, NFP, your big data-driven news events. So we'll keep an eye on it. Technically, you could take a short here, right? Or yesterday, you could have taken a short there based on resistance, based on the 21 exponential moving average, based on those things. You could have taken a short. Hopefully, you waited until you got to daily resistance. Remember, I also said in that tweet that I believe when we get the news, we will probably blast right through daily supply. Well, there's the daily supply I was speaking of, and we blasted right through. So that is a bounce, and it could be sold into. Maybe a higher bounce is where they're looking to sell into. We won't know until we get more data. We won't know until the NFP happens. So we will keep an eye on it. But I did take a short trade on it yesterday. It's not going, as low as I would have expected. I would have expected a little bit shallower of a pullback, deeper of a correction. If we go into the hourly time frame here and look, you're going to see that this is not very bearish, right? Which we knew it wasn't bearish, not necessarily looking for bearish continuation, but I was looking for at least a pullback back down to 39,250,102. That is my target for this near-term intraday short trade. So I don't know if we get there, probably more than likely, if we get back above 39,576, I will close the biggest majority of the position because it will be up a little bit. It'll be up a couple percent. I took it right at the high, almost top ticked it. I was looking for a test of $40,000. Once that test happened, I just executed the short position. All right, so we'll see what happens, but it can definitely go higher today, right? If it's going to be a sell event tomorrow, then basically today's going to be choppy sideways, maybe a little bit of up, and then we'll see what happens. But I am looking for this move to eventually get sold into because there is nothing that Powell said yesterday bullish for these markets. Nothing. Let's go back to this article real quick because this article touches on some of the most important things. The Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell assured Americans that policymakers will do what it takes to curb surging inflation, acknowledging this could cause some pain as the U.S. Central Bank deployed the most powerful policy tightening in decades. So some pain, what he is referring to there is, the markets are probably going to come off a bit, all right, because we are doing the exact opposite that we did to make the markets go up. So that slight pain or some pain is in reference to risk assets coming off the highs. All right, so the Fed on Wednesday raised interest rate by 50 basis points for the first time since 2000. Powell said similar moves were on the table for June and July. So right there, he's telling us at least for the next 2 months, there's possibilities of seeing two more 50-point basis hike or 50-point hikes. All right, 2 more months at least, but they are looking to hike 6 times this year. That was 1, so 5 more. If you get 2 more 50-point hikes, then maybe they finish off the year with only 25-point hikes. But we'll see, right? The Fed we read that. For June and July, still investors took heart that he pushed back against the larger 75 basis point increase. So I don't even, like I said, I don't know anybody that had that on the table that was even looking for that to happen. But obviously speculators will speculate. Stocks notching their largest rally on the day of the Fed meeting in a decade, 10 years. I'd like to take this opportunity to speak directly to the American people. Powell said at the start of the post-meeting press conference in Washington, held in person for the first time since the pandemic began. Inflation is much too high, and we understand the hardship it is causing, and we're moving expeditiously to bring it back down. All right, so just, you can take your own, read it, look at it, get your own take, whatever. It doesn't matter. Just understand that they're doing everything. Everything is on the table to bring the inflation down, and those tools are typically not so bullish for risk assets. But when you are extended in a down move like this and you're at support, all of this stuff, it's almost a natural to expect a bounce. And a bounce is what we have gotten. So we'll keep an eye on it. Euro, obviously, just smoked yesterday, cooking to the upside. Look at this asset. Look how extended to the downside it is. And then all week until the Fed meeting was doing absolutely nothing, just trading sideways. Big move to the upside, coming into an old swing low down here, same as the DXY, pushing up into its highs during the pandemic, or that big move that the pandemic caused. We are trading back below that region. So if I just put the moving average on here, which is a 21 exponential, it tracks price really closely. Look how extended you were away from that. So the farther the asset starts to get away from the 21 exponential moving average, that means you're not looking for short positions anymore. Now, we are trend traders, so we will be looking for resistance to sell into on this asset for this trend, this overall narrative to continue, but just not down here, right? Up in here somewhere. We want this thing to pull back. We want it to establish resistance, some technical levels that we can base our trading decisions on. So just keep that in mind. When this moving average starts to get very far away from price, if it's going in the direction of your trade, you need to start really thinking about maybe taking some profits. I did close out the short position that I took. I have taken that completely off the table, and I'm going to be watching for this to get a little bit higher. Now, you could have traded this to the bullish side. I just, in my experience, looking to pick bottoms and tops in markets doesn't work that often. You might get a small push if you do try to get long today, expecting this to continue, expecting it to pull back into the 21 exponential moving average. That is where I would call it. Like, that's where I would stop trying to take the position, or I would definitely take the majority of those profits off, definitely move my stop to break even, so that way if it does indeed find resistance, then you're probably likely to get stopped out, because the trend is obviously down, and there has nothing been said to change this trend. Nothing. So you need a macro event more than likely to change this, and you haven't gotten one. So we'll see where it goes. Price can go all the way back up to 107, 106, 105. I mean, we're not far from parity on this. And it has been a very, very long time since we were discussing parity on the euro dollar. Very long time. All right? For you guys wondering what parity is, it means the $1 mark. That is parity, when the euro and the dollar are both a dollar. And we haven't seen that in a very long time. We'll see if that occurs. You know what I mean? Like I said, nothing. I didn't see anything to establish a dominant trend change. So we're going to watch for resistance. There's no level to get on this since it was so bearish last week. But we'll wait, right? It can come all the way back up here to this swing low. That's where we'll start looking first. It could stop at the 21, obviously. If it does, and it sets in a small week range or something, like 3-4 day range, then we'll watch resistance. We'll check the swing high. We'll wait for that liquidity crush, and then we'll dive into this thing. What is up, a G? Thank you, my friend. Good morning to you as well. Morning all. Good morning. Good mornings. Good mornings. Heath, 6 times rate hike has never happened before. That's not a reasonable expectation. It's not my expectation. It's the Fed's, my friend. The Fed's dot plot matrix said that, not me. I'm not expecting. I'm not being a speculator here. I'm going off of data that I have, that I know to be true. 7 rate hikes were on the table for the next 2 years, right? The dot plot matrix. So when I say 6 hikes were expected, what I mean basically is 3 if they're 50, right? We could see 3 50-point basis hikes this year, 3 more 50-point basis hike. I cannot say those damn words together. What the hell is wrong with you, brain? 50 basis point hikes, 3 of them this year, 3 of them next year. So when I said 6, basically what I mean is if those are in 25 basis point increments. So we're looking, or the Fed has plotted out that they were going to do 6 25-point hikes or 3 50-point hikes this year. So hopefully that clears that up for you. Yes, it's a big thing that's going on. Definitely. All right, so let's go over here and see what else got a rise out of these things. Euro Swissy is into potential resistance here, so we'll see if this wants to stay. It's been tested. This was already tested here. You didn't quite get up to it the last swing you got, but you're into it again. So we'll see what happens if this thing wants to find resistance and roll over. We will be looking to short this. Not today. Not today. Look at the size of that bullish candle. We are not looking to short into that today. We will wait for an obvious resistance. Sometimes you don't get it, right? Sometimes it just trades up and then reverses instantly the next day. Sometimes you just don't get the setups, but that's okay. We wait for them to come to us. We are never, ever, ever chasing price. Same thing for the yen. Yen's been extremely weak. This is only going to help it stay weaker, assuming, right, that nothing changes. Stronger dollar is going to probably more than likely make the yen go lower. The yen is a big importer. Well, they're a big buyer of oil and energy, and as long as their currency is trending lower and, you know, dollars and stuff like that is going higher, well, dollar is going higher, it's going to make the price of oil more expensive for them. So nobody's expecting that trend to change. So we're probably going to be watching more for support on stuff on the yen pairs, rather resistance. That was a nice big pullback there. That lasted a couple days, so but we will look for that trend to continue. The obvious one would be USD JPY, just massive move straight up. Could you short this thing today with what we had on the news and everything? Yeah, potentially, right? You could potentially look for a short-sided day trade on this today. It's only up 0.4%. That's not a big bullish move, but it is a bullish move nonetheless. But the overall trend is bullish. I expect this to keep going higher eventually. So for me, I want to look more towards the buying of support rather selling into this. But for a day trade and a day trade only, you're into an area of which I could expect or, you know, see more of a pullback. So we're going to watch USD JPY today, and we will be looking with a short bias just until we get a closure above 129.848. This is daily support, or old support. This is the Heath level, your supply zone. Hourly candle right there cements it. So this means that we can basically cancel the trade if we get an hourly closure above 129.848. If this acts as resistance, we will look for a new low of day. Where is the low of day? Right there. That's your low of day. I was just making sure this wasn't. This is your low of day. So basically, lining this trade up, it would look something like this. Now, obviously, I can't give you a decent entry point. Would I take the entry now? Hell no. Right? It's only 6 o'clock in the morning. There's 3 more hours to go before this thing will probably start moving lower. That is wrong. We want a short entry. So it looks something similar to this, right? Obviously, the stop's going to be very, very tight, but that's a big, you know, it's a pretty big move to the downside. If we get it, we'll see. Hourly closure above 129.848 negates the trade. You will not look to take the trade if that occurs because something else is changing. And this thing is so bullish, like this could have been bought into last night, right? Because they're expecting everything to continue. So this dollar pullback, the red days could last on the dollar for 3 to 4 days. Maybe you get a red weekly close, maybe 2 weeks of red closes, but eventually I am expecting that thing to bounce back to the upside. So my overall bias on this is longer term, long, but in the very, very, very short near term, today only, maybe we can look for a potential short, right? Just for today only, because this thing is bullish as it can be. Gold was up almost 5% yesterday on that news. Massive rally in gold. Remember, we have a slight bearish bias on gold. simply because of the real rates. There is no alpha that can be generated on gold currently. So there is no benefit to holding gold long because of storage fees and everything else. So investors are looking for that alpha elsewhere. That's why we were looking for this to roll over. And it has done that. This pop right here is a sellable event. So there are two levels for you to watch currently. You've got 1905 450, and you can watch the level that it is at right now. Right now, right? 1896.99. So it's a daily. We want to see daily closes back below. There's a wick right there. So if you do get up into those regions, get above 1905, then this will probably be the bullish target, this wick. But once that gets taken out, then we could probably look for that rollover to continue. Big support zone here, right? Big support zone. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, many tests of 1917. So we'll see if that wants to act as the resistance. So I said 2, but 3 big regions to watch for the gold to basically find resistance again. We're expecting it to keep going lower. Now, obviously, gold will go up if something bad happens over in, what's going on over in Europe. Gold will start to climb again if that war gets bigger or if another country gets involved or whatever, right? Haven't really heard a lot of news about it lately when it comes to the financial world. So I don't know if it's getting ready to wind down, if they're talking about peace talks or what's going on over there. I don't keep track of it. But if something bad were to happen, what's worse than war? Nothing, but you get what I'm saying. Like, if they were to decide to nuke the place or something like that, then yeah, gold's probably going to go higher. But other than that, just on, looking at it as an investment vehicle, right now there are more attractive options out there, is all I'm saying. All right. And yesterday I was looking at USD CAD. That thing has rolled back over, so came right into resistance. We were watching it yesterday. I did not take a position on it. I was just watching for a potential bounce at support. We did not get it. All right, we did not get it. So here was the bounce that I was looking for. And then the news came, and sayonara. That's all dollar weakness right there. It's more dollar weakness than it is CAD strength. But since this thing hasn't been able to break down in a very long time, USD CAD was on the table. USD CAD was making us a lot of money because USD CAD was trending, right? It was a fantastic trade. Here lately, it has not been a fantastic trade. Here lately, this thing has been muddled up, sideways, and crappy to trade. So the fact that it keeps bouncing off of this region down here means that, and then had such a bullish reaction right back up into resistance, I am looking for this to find support. Now, one of the rules that I have is if I can't find support on the daily, I'll go looking elsewhere. I will find support. I will absolutely find it. Here is an old weekly supply zone right there. All right. So since you rolled over here, price traded back up into it, technically you would be looking at this area for trend continuation, but you blasted through. So now we are there. So yeah, we can look for buying opportunities. Maybe not today, right? Maybe not today. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe Monday. But eventually, real soon, we're going to be wanting to look for a support test and hold on this thing. So we had such a big move yesterday. Also, I'm expecting not much to happen today. I haven't done any trades this week, basically waiting to see what the FOMC had to say. We pretty much knew what they were going to say, but we wanted to hear what they had to say. And we have NFP too. Those are two big drivers, and they really will affect price. Typically, inside of price action trading, when you have a big move, the very next day is typically a very small range-bound sideways day. So if you are looking to take trades today, like for instance, I want to go long USD CAD because I think it's going to go higher. You're going to wait for support, right? Once you get your signal or your entry to go long, you're only going to be looking like to the midpoint of this candle or something for a target, because you're not looking for yesterday's high to get taken out, or this would be yesterday's high. Right there's yesterday's high, so you're not looking for that as a target, not all the way down here. You can as the days go on, but not today. So today you would be looking for, a little bit more than a new high, daily high. But that's a big move, guys. See, you can't really see the size of how big that move was, but USD CAD is a very slow moving asset. So what that means is typically, it takes several hourly candles to make your 20 pips, right? But from this candle's low to the high of day is 26 pips. So the last 2 hours, 3 hours put in a 26 pip move. That's how, this market is volatile. It is extremely volatile right now. It is moving. So we'll wait for support on this. Maybe not, like I said, maybe we don't get the trade until Monday, but we will be looking for this thing to resume. Now, if the NFP happens tomorrow and we get another leg of price down, we'll look for another support region. But then, maybe then we'll leave it alone if something like that were to occur. But I think we can look for longs on this. We're just now testing the daily 21. Moving averages has been fairly useless on this asset because it hasn't been trending. But maybe this is the first start of a new trend on the USD CAD. We're going to go based on this order flow right here. So we are looking for support on USD CAD for bullish entries. Good morning. SPX. We did look at it. We're not doing anything on it right now. There is nothing to do. I do expect it to get sold back into. So we'll see what happens. But this thing is volatile, man. Look at the size of these bearish candles. It's been really, really, really moving in comparison to what these candles look like, guys. Okay? Look at the size of these bearish and bullish candles compared to these. Please understand that this is a volatile market. All right? Big move. That is a massive move on the SPY, on the SPOOs. 40.61. That's a $300 move almost in a 3-day period. It's a big move on the SPOOs. Big move. But if you think it's going to go higher, then look for support. Right? You already have a near-term support already based and formed since the last couple hours. That's a London session open and price faded. So maybe they're looking to fade the move today. If you're bullish, I'm looking to fade this. Right? I'm looking to fade it. Today, maybe not, but I'm looking for this to find resistance and roll back over. So it looks like the London session guys are looking to fade it as well. If you're looking to go long, this is the region where you want to see support hold. 42.67.30. Note that that's just inside of this hourly candle. It's not that far away. You're right there. So now that you have a near-term hourly support, watch that level instead. And if you get an hourly close below this bearish close, then you're probably leaving it alone for the long side. It's just, the problem is I would be looking to trade these assets right now if it weren't for tomorrow have it being NFP, non-farm payroll. If you don't know what non-farm payroll is, please use this tool known as Google. It will tell you. Okay? It tells you what it is and why Forex traders look at it so much. All right? And I am a Forex guy. Forex is my bread and butter. That is my mainstay. I look at options and stocks when I'm done trading Forex. Crypto, Forex is the number one for me. I am a Forex trader. So we'll see what happens on the SPOOs today. Euro USD, we're looking for resistance. Pound USD, we didn't check out pound dollar. Pound dollar got crushed last week. A couple weeks ago, last week, a couple weeks, it's been getting absolutely slaughtered. All right, so if we go out here, if you've been following this channel for any length of time, let's say more than 7 months or 8 months, then you will know that I had this trend line, and I was looking at this to base a bigger, broader move on the pound. If you remember me saying that, I was saying basically if we can get a close. Now this is on log. Off log looks like this, right? Off log, this is your standard scale, looks like that. Logarithmic is where you get that resistance slope, but these are quarterly candles, 3-month candles, quarterlies. I was looking for a quarterly close above this level for bullish trades, right? I basically said if you cannot get over that, then our bias will be short on the pound. And I'm looking for a longer term move. Now you're into quarterly support. So like the move was up here if you were looking for shorts on this asset. Can it break support and go lower? Well, that has been the trend, hasn't it? Right? Every time this thing makes a low and it takes a few years, it does break down. It has been the trend. So yes, it can go lower. Parity on the pound is much, much lower. All right? So yeah, that's what we were watching. The pound is just, it's continuing to roll over. It's continuing to go lower. So we can't look to short it down here, but we can wait for a big move up. I don't think it gets back up to 130, but we'll see. It's the same as the euro. There's no up closing candles in this leg of price to the downside, so we'll have to wait for that resistance to show itself. But yeah, we're bearish on the pound. We're bearish on everything that's traded against the dollar. We're just letting the dollar pull back, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. XRP. Yeah, XRP looks exactly like Bitcoin almost. We'll go look at it on, let's look at it on Kraken. Yeah, I mean, it didn't get as big of a bounce as yesterday as Bitcoin did, but it's still got the bounce. Still got the bounce. This thing has multiple, oh my gosh, look how beautiful that demand level is. Just absolutely beautiful. So that's where I would be looking at support. You know, that 0.55,750. That's just an old daily demand level down there. It's been tested a few times. So what you're looking for on XRP is the same thing we're looking for on Bitcoin. We are looking for this to ultimately find resistance. Now here's the thing. If 65,247, which is this daily candle's resistance, doesn't hold, then the next area to look on this asset is going to be all the way up to there. Like, there are no other technical daily levels. So if you lose 65,247 with a bullish pop, my next bullish target would be 69,542. But ultimately, I would expect this to get sold into. A lot of cryptos have already had their moves to the downside. This one came off 60% at its lowest point. Is that even the all-time high? No, it isn't. Never mind. This thing came off a lot more than 60%. My bad. So it came off, what? 73%. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of these things have already came off so much, man. So much. Giving back most of their gains, but yet crypto traders and Bitcoiners alike refuse to see this as a bear market. Absolutely does not make sense to me. So looking for the fade to continue. We're looking for the rally to be faded. So we'll look for resistance. And those two areas are the areas of which I would start to watch to execute those short positions. Right? You don't want to do it like when it first gets up there. You want to make sure that it is holding as resistance. Okay? But these are the two levels at which I would start to watch them. See how it goes for a few days. Remember, you don't have to rush into anything. You want to make sure that you're taking a position at a higher probable area. And if price stalls there for multiple days, then you know it's a higher probable area. Don't take my word for it. Let price show you the way. It will show you the way. USD ruble. Yeah, let me just make sure I didn't miss anybody else. Run DMC, think May 9th victory, May Day. Yeah, yesterday was Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. I lost where I was. There it was. There it was. All right, good. Run DMC was the next comment. Warning from the airport flying to Ireland for custody case for my baby. Oh, man, that sucks. Sucks. Those are rough. It ain't all about the money. No, not in your case. Good luck with that, my friend. I really, really wish you all the luck in the world. I don't know how it is over there, but I know in America, custody cases are usually granted to the mother. Usually, I mean, you would have to have some serious data on that mother to prove that she's not able to raise the child. So hopefully it's different. Or hopefully it works out for you is what I'm saying. Are you liking Atom under $20? Let's go look at Atom. Yes, for a long-term buy, I do like Atom, but I'm not buying it with a lot of money. I haven't started buying it yet either, simply because it's coming off pretty hard. But I can see this thing being worth $100 in the future, for sure. For sure. But it did come off really, really big the last few weeks. So yeah, definitely loving it under $20. But I would want it to find support also. See, this is the thing. If this is the start of a bear market that could last a year or even 2 years, then basically you would want to wait until you're a buyer on Bitcoin again before you're buying up alts. That's just my opinion. I don't know much about alt season and stuff like that. I am a trader, mostly a Forex trader. I do trade cryptos, and I do own ETH and Bitcoin. We'll see what happens. I do want to buy this, though. It is one of my favorite ones to look at because of what I've read about it. I do like it. I think it has potential. So we'll see if it finds support. Maybe it wants to go lower. Maybe it wants to go back to pre-pandemic levels. And that would be much cheaper than where it is currently. And it can go right back down there. Remember, every single bull market the cryptos had has been basically sold off. They go through cycles and phases like every other market. So we'll see. But it is in a region that I do like. Anywhere from $14 to $20, I think you could start putting some on. Just make sure you're buying it with a very small amount of money for now, because we don't know where the bottom is. So you don't want to be going in heavy at first. You want to go in heavy once you know, or once we have a pretty solid, foundation of support, or where we think that, basically when I start to become a buyer on Bitcoin again, I'll start to buy some of these altcoins. Atom being the first one that I am going to go after. But down here it could be a place. Absolutely. Longer term, just buy and hold. Not trading. Trading it looks like crap. Trading it, I'd be looking to sell it again at resistance. Just like everything else. Because that is the trend. Can you talk about the relative strength? Oh, wait, I forgot. USD ruble. Let's go look at it. We can't, I don't think, is it even tradable? Oh my God, man. Yeah, that's government intervention right there. Government intervention. This thing was absolutely getting pummeled, slaughtered, because it's inverse is right. So if you're a fan of the ruble or you own ruble, then you're watching the ruble. So this is an inverse chart of what you're looking at now. It looks very good for the ruble, because the dollar is strong right now. The dollar is ripping off faces to the upside, and this thing is just wow. Wow, that's all I can say. That is massive. Freaking massive rally. Damn it. I wish I could do, I don't even know how to inverse. What is it? Control I or something? Alt I? Yeah, Alt I. Yeah, I mean, that's big. That's big, big, big. Big move. Big move. This is government intervention. This is not technical. This is not fundamental based. This is government. They are doing something here. Right? They are. So be careful trading that. Is it found a low? Can you start to look for support? I think so. But, you know, just like with the Turkish lira, right? After it had its big move and then the government got involved, it did the same thing. Basically traded sideways for a long time. Still basically trading sideways. Right? It's at resistance, though, to be fair. I don't like trading these things because it's very hard to manage your risk. This spread is 56.0. When this thing was moving really big, the spread was hitting 600-700. That's big. It's big. 700 pips is the spread. So watch what happens. It's at resistance. One could even watch that. So it looks like the narrative is this is going to be a selling opportunity on this potentially. Just follow me. If this is resistance right here, you get the daily close above. Boom, there's your breakout. Very next day, not quite an engulfing because you didn't take out the high, but you damn sure took out the low and closed below. Then you got bearish continuation. So this bullish candle is looking like an engulfing almost too, right? So be careful. I don't like it. I mean, if I was going to watch it, that's where I'd be watching. But today it is very, very, very strong for some reason. Moving to the upside. That means the USD is stronger than the lira today. And the USD is pulling back. So we'll see if it ends up finding resistance there. But it's the same. I don't like trading those exotic pairs. Can you talk relative strength between Bitcoin versus NASDAQ? Other indices like should be a lot lower. Well, this is the thing. Bitcoin is not correlated with the indices at all. There is no, I mean, if you have a model that calculates the correlation, you could probably get a number of how correlated it is. We just know that the overall theme is that Bitcoin is a risk asset, and so is the NASDAQ, the SPY, and everything else. So as long as Bitcoin is being traded as a risk asset, and that could change tomorrow, right? It's unlikely that it changes, but it could. Bitcoin was built to be a risk-off asset, not a risk-on asset. Bitcoin was designed to be an inflation hedge. So in times of high inflation, that's when Bitcoin would be rising. That's what it was built for. But it's being a speculation vehicle instead of that. It's not an inflation hedge yet. It could end up being one, and that just means that when the NASDAQ and everything, when it's risk on, Bitcoin will probably trade off to sideways if that ever occurs. You can't have it both ways. It's either a risk on asset or a risk off asset. There is no in between, right? There is no in between. If people want it to be a risk-off asset, then it's going to look like the yen in bad times, right? But the yen is being traded much differently this year than it was last year and the year before, right? So risk-on, risk-off status can change. It's just whatever the investors decide to do with it. But it's not super correlated. But if, technically, if you're going to see downside on the SPX, you would expect that on Bitcoin as well. The thing is Bitcoin is coming into a massive area of support. So yes, and I said the same thing. This should be, minorly correlated to the inverse side of DXY because it's an asset trading against the dollar. So it's traded as a currency, right? It should do the inverse of what the dollar does. So if the dollar's skyrocketing, this should be plummeting, but it's not, because it's Bitcoin. People are buying it. People love it, so they buy it, and they think this is the lows. They think that this is the end of the bear market, which they didn't never even see a bear market. They still don't call this a bear market. This is the bottom of Bitcoin, and it's possible. Nobody knows if it will be or not. In my opinion, that's unlikely, but we'll see, right? We'll see how the markets, how the investors respond. So if investors keep selling their Bitcoins, it's going to go lower. If investors like Bitcoin now and they think that, you know what, I want to buy Bitcoin because of all this inflation, because of everything, then it'll go up. All we can do is watch technical levels. We don't need to worry ourselves with, anything else other than where is price going? What is it doing? What has it done? Where's the trend? We know that the trend is bearish. We know that it's bearish on the year anyways. We know that this thing is below all of its major moving averages on the daily time frame. And I do mean all. Every one of them. Price is below it. That is typically bearish. Not bullish. Bearish. All right? So in bearish markets, in the trend that we have before us, we look for that to continue. So we look for this to find resistance, and we look for that trend to continue. And the trend is down on every indicator you look at. Bitcoin is down. Down, down, down. Just looking at price, it's 47% off the highs. That's not bullish at all. 43% off the 42.81% off the highs. That's almost half of its value. If the SPX ever lost half of its value, the world would be ending. Right? People would be worried. And unless the Fed done something to stop it, they would have the right to be. But we'll see what happens. Time will tell. If you think you're going to see more bullish continuation because of the spike you got yesterday, then you're looking for support, and that support is 39,251. That's where you're watching. It's an old level of supply. You broke through it, so price is probably going to retest it. And if it finds support there, then you can target yesterday's high as a bullish trade. And don't worry about the SPX and NASDAQ correlation. Just follow price. Facebook, Tesla. Yeah, and go look at them real quick. There's Tesla. Big, strong move yesterday. It's natural. Everything looks the same. All risk assets got a massive bounce yesterday. You're coming back into resistance here. I still like that area as resistance. Now, this is structured differently than Bitcoin. See how the moving averages are? So Tesla is actually stronger than Bitcoin right now, according to price action. But you are coming into resistance. I wish there was a technical level there and not indicators. Look at the 12-hour and daily indicators are identical. That's because the market closes. Is the 12-hour and daily candles identical? They are. So is the 8-hour. The markets only trade 8 hours a day, so it makes sense. But the Tesla 8-hour chart is the same as the 12 and the daily, huh? All right, so let's go into the intraday charts and see if you can find a level to watch for potential support. Nothing on the 4-hour. Nothing on the 2-hour. Nope. I mean, that's such an old level, but it's there, I guess. This is an old resistance. Intraday resistance. So maybe that's where it finds resistance. If it does. I don't know that it will. But the trend is, down. And you're into potential resistance. So I'm assuming today will probably be a sideways to down day. We'll see though. If it's gapping way up here, like above 980, then I would probably watch 998 for resistance. And then Facebook, let's go over here to the daily. It's continuing with its bullish rip since that earnings call. Boom. Yeah, that was a good buying opportunity on Facebook. Massive, massive opportunity there. So we are looking for these this gap to be filled soon, or but that's not what we're targeting. But we'll see what happens with it. You're into resistance on Facebook. There's no other way to say it. Right there is going to be supply, and then ultimately there's your resistance. 233.89 is where you're probably going to find resistance on the first attempt. All right, on the first push up into that. If you're gapping above it, then I would expect to gap and go trade. Right? If you gap up and you gap up above all resistance levels, typically that means traders are stuck. Short traders are stuck. Gap and go. Look for bullish price action. But if it trades up into this 225 or 233, I expect that to be resistance. Luna's got a bounce going as well because everything did. We'll look at it over here on the KuCoin. It's into its yearly open level. So we'll see what it wants to do. Resistance on Luna is there. 89.15. So I don't like shorting it here because there's really nothing to short it here. And also, since you've got this expanding bullish candle, it looks like it wants to go higher. I guess you could say this old swing high here might be acting as resistance, or the wicks even. But 89.15 is where I'd like to see it stall out. Like trade up into it, above it, below, close below, then start to look for it to roll back over. And we'll know after the NFP what's going to happen. But there's your resistance. You're trading at your yearly open. At it. Intraday, if, like I said, if you're bullish, you expect the bullish trade to continue. I don't. I don't know why Luna's been so bullish, though. It has been a lot more bullish than every other cryptocurrency, so that bullish strength could continue. But we'll see what happens. Intraday resistance is going to be close to 87.73. Not looking for a short down here. Closer up into these regions would be where I would like to take that short. I definitely wouldn't take the short on the first push up into it, and especially if it gets up there in the next hour or two, because then you're going to have a lot of bullish momentum. And we definitely don't want to short into bullish momentum. Not unless you have a clear and obvious daily level of resistance. All right. Russia backing ruble with gold and commodities. Yeah. It's definitely being, something's going on. I'm based in Europe and had some dollar and changed it for ruble. Nice. That was a good call. Because the ruble is going up, but it is probably going to find some resistance pretty soon. What am I watching for the NFP? I think yesterday's rally will we'll get like sold into. I think yesterday's rally was based solely on the news and liquidations and the fact that you're at support and all the technical reasons why we were looking for a bounce. But I think the trend will go back to the original, and that is lower. Because everything that was stated yesterday in the meeting was not bullish. It is hawkish. The Fed is hawkish. The Fed is completely opposite of being dovish right now. And that's typically not good for the markets. I mean, when you have your Fed chair saying stuff like, yeah, we're going to do whatever it takes, and the markets are probably going to feel some pain, that's not the time to be a buyer. I mean, when the Fed is telling you that the markets are probably going to feel some pain, You typically don't want to be a buyer. Okay? So whatever happened yesterday, even if this thing finds support today and gets another bullish pop the size of the one it had yesterday, I am thinking that NFP is probably going to put in a resistance. That's what I'm looking for NFP to stop this thing in its tracks and to provide a better shorting opportunity than where it currently did yesterday, which is higher. Remember, the higher price goes, the better the short opportunity, not the lower. Higher. The higher it goes, that's where we want to look to be shorts. But $40,000 is a big region. It might not get back above that for a long time. We'll see. It looks like it wants to do it today. So be careful. This is not a bearish candle, to say the least. A lot of people are FOMOing because they just don't understand the Fed. They don't understand what it means for the markets. This is probably going to be faded for the next, I don't care if it goes up for a solid week after tomorrow. Eventually, I look for it to get faded. All right, guys, I'm going to have to wrap it up. I don't know how to trade the ruble. Some people can't. It's based on your brokerage. If your brokerage allows you to trade it, then you can trade it. You trade it the same way you trade any other asset or currency pair. You look for support and you buy it, or if you're short. Can I take a look at stocks if there is time? Yeah, I absolutely can, and that looks like that'll be the last. That is the last one on the comments too. So, is that USDT or is that a stock? I guess it's a stock. iShares Semiconductor ETF. Let's see here. Looks like it found near-term support. Right? It looks almost identical to the S&P or the NASDAQ. Remember here, we were looking at this to potentially be an inverse head and shoulders, as that was the last bullish case on these things, and it broke down. Right? So yeah, we're looking for the trend to continue. As high as it wants to go is fine, but eventually I look for this to get faded. I look for this move to get faded. Where are you in relation to your 21? You're above it, and that's a hell of a close above it. You got a death cross right there. First time since the pandemic. Right there. I mean, that occurred on April the 12th. You got your first death cross. So, I mean, look for this to get faded. Here is resistance. Right there. There's the last up close candle, the highest one. Look for that to act as resistance. 439.71. If you're long, or if you got long, then go ahead and take profits and move your stop to break even. So, this is what we're looking for, right? Longer term, altogether. That's basically what we're looking for, something like this. And it's going to be the same on most assets, right? Looking for this trend that just started to continue. But it's the same thing. This thing is very volatile. Look at the size of the candles that you've had on the daily for the last couple months and compared to, over there. A lot of volatility out there. A lot of things are moving. You guys make sure you mind your downside risk. If you have any questions, as always, drop them down in the comment section below as I try to answer every single one. Make sure you guys trade safe. Make sure you trade smart. And as always, happy trading, everybody.